Welcome to the Con Pod, a Star Trek Convention podcast, a proud member of the Trek Geeks podcast network. Here is your host, Ron Roble.
Hello and welcome to Lucky, episode number 13 of the Con Pod, a Star Trek Convention podcast that's part of the Trek Geeks. This month's episode is going to feature a deep dive into three fantastic unofficial events that are occurring during this year's 57-year mission tour in Las Vegas, Nevada, otherwise known as STLV. As of this recording, we're just under 2 months away from this event and very much looking forward to it. The first event we're going to look at is the Fan Geeks Party, which is hosted by the Trek Geeks and FanSets. Our second event is going to be the Newbies and Solos Meet and Greet, a great event for first-timers coming to the convention. And the third event is going to be the STLV Craft Swap, which is a really fun way to get some swag and meet some fantastic Trekkies. So without further ado, let's kick this episode off.
So joining us to talk about the Fan Geeks Party is Bill Smith, one of the hosts of the Trek Geeks. Bill, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we're joined by Lou Halbeth, the managing general partner of FanSets, the official sponsor of the podcast. Lou, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here as well.
It's an honor to be here to talk with you, Ron. Not so much with Bill, but with you for sure.
I get that a lot.
Anytime we can talk Star Trek and pins, it's a good day. So, Bill, let's jump right off the bat with you. Tell me a little bit about this party. How did this thing get started? What's the history behind it?
Well, it goes back to, gosh, Lou, what was it? The 51st convention?
Yes.
So the year after the 50th, Lou and his partner John came to Dan and me and said, "Hey, we want you guys to host a party for us. And here's where we're going to have it," and blah, blah, blah. We never hosted a party before. We had no idea what we were doing. But
us either.
Yeah, right. This was a big, wing and a prayer for all four of us. And we said, well, let's get a bunch of people in a room and have fun. And that's kind of how this party started. And here we are, COVID years aside, this is the 5th or 6th one. I've lost count. But it winds up being one of the most anticipated parties of the convention week.
That's awesome. And Lou, I know that from your side, this event, it brings to showcase some of the pins. I would imagine most of our listeners are diehard Trek fans and know all about FanSets. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about FanSets and how you guys got involved in hosting this amazing party.
Well, like all good ideas, John and I were sitting around talking. It's like we need to do something to stand out because we're literally a two-man team. Everyone thinks FanSets is this big warehouse and multi-employees. I mean, it's two of us, and my son part-time when he has time. And I had been listening to Bill and Dan as just a listener, and as you can already tell, I'm not good with a mic in front of me. So I told John, I said, these guys are very, very friendly. They come across well. Dan is obviously handicapped by Bill, but we took that into consideration. And we decided to contact these guys. And I got to tell you, though, all kidding aside, Dan and Bill are like my brothers. I mean, I'm sitting here joking with him, but it's because it's what a brother would do to another brother, and it was a match made in heaven. From that moment we got to sit down and talk with them and plan this out. And what a lot of people don't know is that Bill is so meticulously ahead of the schedule and planning this stuff that what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, it's why it comes off so well. And the first year, it was kind of a shoestring deal, but everyone that attended had a great time and word spread. And then the next year, we didn't know how to distribute the tickets. And that's when the geeks came up with, well, let's do it online. And, if we've made it past 60 minutes, on any of these last couple parties, I would be surprised in distribution of tickets. And it's just a good time. It's a birthday party. It's a New Year's celebration. It's Christmas. It's it's all of that wrapped into one thing for Star Trek.
I love it. It always feels like STLV is the Met Gala for nerds throughout the quadrant, and this party is the after party that just you got to be on top of things to get a ticket. So, Bill, let's talk about that a little bit. How this event is sold out. Where is the venue this year? What is it going to look like?
Well, it's amazing because the first couple of years we did this, it was a tiny little place over at Caesar's Palace, and although it worked, it never really felt like the perfect place for the party. Earlier this spring, Lou and John were out in Las Vegas and they were scouting locations, and they walked through the door of Millenium Fandom Bar on Las Vegas, just off Las Vegas Boulevard, and it felt like home. And then they started sending us pictures, and we had a conference call with the owner, and it came together. So we are incredibly excited and stoked and pumped to bring this party to, honestly, the venue we should have found all along that we didn't even really know about at the time.
Absolutely.
Millenium Fandom Bar, which is just, you want to talk about a celebration of fandom, Ron. That's exactly what Millenium Fandom is, and it's the perfect place for Fan Geeks Party.
I'm looking at their website too, and it looks like they have swag. They have a whole like Trek theme swag. So I mean, it's these guys. It's a Millenium Fandom. It looks like it's Star Wars focused, but it looks like they are definitely no strangers to Star Trek fandom.
Well, right next to the bar, there's a giant Klingon crest. They've got various, memorabilia from all kinds of sci-fi shows all throughout the bar. Yes, there is an R2-D2, but who doesn't love R2-D2? Let's be honest.
Awesome. Love it. And Lou is one of the sponsors, so I'm assuming that you folks are there selling pins, correct?
We won't at the party. We will be doing just the opposite. We will be giving them away because that's what we're known for. We have some really great stuff that we're going to be premiering at the show. We're hoping that it'll excite the people who are attending. It'll be great. It always is.
That's great. That's exciting. That's awesome. I'll be honest. This is my 4th or 5th STLV. I've never been to this party.
What? How did we let you on the network?
Right. This should be a lot of fun. So I'm so excited. I've heard so many good things about the pins, about the guests. Bill, did I hear correctly that there are some special guests that might be joining us this year?
There are. And in order to introduce that, I want to back up a little bit because folks who are listening to this may have attended last year's party. And I know I speak for Lou when I say this. It was not the event that we planned, intended, or were satisfied by. We heard from a lot of people, Lou, or promised,
or promised
right
by the owner.
Lou hears from people all the time. I hear from people all the time that party just wasn't what they wanted, and we get it. Wasn't what we wanted either. The venue told us they were going to do X and Y and Z, and then did the exact opposite. So this year, to make up for it, we've decided to do a live audience recording of the Trek Geeks podcast at the party. It's the first time we've ever done this. We're a little crazy for doing it, but we said, if we're going to do this, we have to bring some heat, So we called our friend John Billingsley, who instantly said yes. He, of course, Dr. Phlox from Star Trek Enterprise. We also have joining us Bonnie Gordon, the voice of the computer from Star Trek Prodigy, as well as some other characters on Prodigy. And that's just the start. We have a couple of other things in motion. We're hoping to announce at least one more special guest. And if it's more than one, then I'm going to be, even happier. And I think Lou will be too. But, and then after that, Bonnie's also going to be the halftime show. So she's going to do a couple of musical numbers because fandom loves Bonnie and Bonnie loves fandom. And then after that, we are going to do, I've told Lou to get ready because we're going to do the biggest giveaway of FanSets pins in the history of this party. It's the entire second half of the party. We're going to try to get as many people to leave that party with pins as possible. And that's my goal, is to bankrupt Lou just about every year.
Absolutely. And we're in for it.
Well, we are so excited about this. I know the event is sold out, but Bill and I were talking, and I think we are able to do a giveaway. So if you're listening to this podcast and you do not have tickets, all you have to do to win, to have a chance to win 2 tickets to this event, is to tweet at TrekConPod, tag at FanSets, and post a picture of your favorite FanSets pin, or tell us what your favorite FanSets pin is. What pin are you most looking forward to getting in Las Vegas? And you'll be entered for a drawing to get 2 tickets, which will be drawn at the end of June. It's a great way to get to this very fun event. Anything else you want to add, Bill?
Yeah, I want to say you have to be going to STLV to pick up the tickets, because we're going to have them there. And it's 2 tickets. It's 1 per person. They're not transferable. So if you're going to enter the contest, be sure you're going to go to the party, because if you win, you're going to have a hell of a time.
Fantastic. Lou, anything else you want to add about this
And we want
wonderful
you there.
event? We want you there, definitely.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has come out and supported the Geeks and FanSets throughout the years at the event. Vegas is like our Star Trek reunion with our fans and our friends, and we just can't wait. I mean, we are counting the days. So thank you to everyone.
And Lou, so for those of us that are going to Vegas that maybe didn't get tickets and unfortunately don't win tickets to the Con Pod, if anybody wants to find FanSets, you guys will be in the vendor's room, right?
Yep, we're going to be in the same spot. We're always right in the door into the hard left. That's kind of our spot. We're going to have some surprises, I guarantee you, for the show. Don't want to let that out yet, but yeah, we'll be the booth where there's a line.
Love it. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're so excited for STLV. It's coming up just a couple of months away. And gosh, this is just one of many events that we'll be talking about, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. Thank you. Bill, if somebody wants to follow you and stay in touch, Bill, how can they find you on social media?
Well, you can, it's probably best to follow Trek Geeks. We're pretty much at Trek Geeks on every platform. There you can get updates on Fan Geeks Party. There you can get updates on all of our shows, including Con Pod with the lovely and talented Ron.
He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
So amazing.
He is amazing.
And Lou, if anybody wants to stay in touch with FanSets, how can they follow you guys?
Well, much like Bill, it's at FanSets on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's the best way to get a hold of us is through Messenger or through that social media.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, gentlemen, and we will see you in just a few months.
Thanks so much, Ron.
Looking forward to it, Ron. Thank you.
So the next big event that we're going to have at STLV this year is the Newbie and Solo Meet and Greet, which is being held right at the start of the convention. And here to talk about that event, we have 2 fabulous guests. First is Heather Barker, one of the admins of the Unofficial Star Trek Convention Facebook groups and one of the organizers of this event, and a returning guest to the show. Heather, welcome.
Thank you for having me back. I am so excited. How many days are we from STLV?
Oh, right now we are 83 days, but this is being recorded about a month ahead of it being posted.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are close. That's the big thing. I used to do the countdown. Now you do the countdown and I just rely on you.
I love the countdown. And we're also joined by Randy Frank with Lambda Quadrant. Randy, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So
the countdown is terrifying because I have to make merch. So,
so your 3D printer has to be running nonstop at this point.
It's on fire.
I love it. So Heather, as the kind of veteran of this event, tell me a little bit how this event got started and what the essential details are.
So I'm trying to remember when we had the first Newbie and Solo Traveler event, because so our group used to be the Unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas Convention group. And then there was a time when there were supposed to be more official conventions, and that's on pause for now, we'll say. So we changed the name of the group to Star Trek Convention Experiences, and I use them both interchangeably because most people know what they both are. So when we were Unofficial STLV group, we started doing a group meetup, and then we just found so many people that were coming on their own or had never been and were coming for the first time, and were very intimidated by the chatter in the group and the hype and the fact that there's so many people there. It can be very, very overwhelming. So I think that it was actually Jesse Akendo in our group, one of our other admins, who came up with the idea to focus on the newbies and the solo travelers and do a separate event from them. And now this event has kind of become the main event because everyone is welcome and we want regulars, we want veterans to come and greet the new people. So it's kind of a meetup focused on the newbies and solo travelers. And it's really evolved over time because when we started doing it, it was basically just let's get together at Masquerade or iBar. Maybe you have a name tag. I think we did try. We try very hard to have name tags. But it was just kind of like, here are the admins of the group. They're like a point of contact, we'll say, meet them, and then kind of go around and meet different people. Let's see, we had a break in STLV for 2020. I didn't go for 2021. So last year was my first time back, but in 2021, I reached out to Randy and said, would you guys at Lambda Quadrant be willing to host the Newbie and Solo Traveler event? Because I was not going to be there. I don't think many of our admins were, and we still wanted to make sure that event happened and that there was, you know, a welcoming group of people to say hi to everybody. And so Randy and Lambda Quadrant took it over. And last year was my first year there with them hosting and me just getting to show up and talk to people, which is great. And so last year we had a special guest. We had Larry Nemechek show up for trivia. And then we had gift cards for Star Trek wines and some giveaway prizes that were donated by very awesome fans just like us. So having said that, I feel like I should pass it over to Randy to talk a little bit, or not.
Sure.
So I know that we're kind of planning to do the same type of theme where we're going to reach out to Larry again, reach out to Star Trek Wines again, and hope that all comes to fruition. And have that event. So Larry will be there for the trivia. We'll have some cool things to give away. But the night is just really focused on saying hi to other people or someone saying hi to you, which I promise to do a better job of because we've had a few people say, I showed up, but I'm really shy and I had a hard time reaching out and nobody really talked to me. So that I'm committing to that this year. I'm going to walk around and introduce myself and say, welcome to STLV.
Perfect. I love that. I get, because we have that night is the same thing as the whatever chair it is, the early access to the vendors room.
Right.
And so we have to split the team and I always end up working the table because it's, you know, all of our stuff and whatever. So I don't even get to see it very much. Like I plan it and I create all of this stuff and pass it on to the rest of the team. And by the time I get there, they're like, it was a great night. So maybe I'll get to jump in and actually see it this year. But yeah. We have a good time. They report back. We bring in some of our own merch to give away too, just to, you know, and we bring in name tags and pronoun tags and make sure everyone has, you know, like markers to actually fill those out. And the first year we actually had our bracelets that indicate like how much distance you want, right? Because of COVID and everything. So we try and make it a safe and welcoming place for everyone just outside of just being there. Providing those things also. So
that's great. And contrary to the name, Randy, you don't have to be a newbie or a solo traveler to have this thing, correct?
No, and you shouldn't. Like everyone should come say hi to the new people or the people there by themselves, because then I mean they're gonna all fold in anyway. They'll be back next year, so you'll see them again.
Absolutely. And Heather, if somebody wants to, do you sign up for this event? Do you show up? What's the protocol?
You just show up. So this event happens on Wednesday night, right? Oh yeah.
Correct.
Wednesday night. Sorry, I get again when we had different events, we would have one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, one on
right.
The
this
reality,
Wednesday,
this one is Wednesday. And I want to emphasize really quick that the reason that this is the main event that we have is just that there are only 4 of us admins. There are only so many people that can help. As Randy said, his time is split between the vendor's room and the event, if he can even make it to the event. So it's really just a lack of volunteers. And so we just try to have one really great event and
kick it off right at the beginning. It's great.
Kick it off. You get some connections. we're having it this year at the I-Bar at the Rio, which is right next to registration when you walk in. So you'll make a
It's
note
that
that as
round
you,
looking thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a big circle with the bar in between. And I do want to emphasize that while it's at the bar because the bar is just a central location, we have tried for so many years to have events in other spaces, and there are just no good conducive spaces for these types of gatherings. It's just bars because it's Vegas, I guess.
Right.
So while it is a bar and it can be loud, iBar is a bit more intimate than Masquerade, and there is no
Yes.
pressure to drink. I don't drink like I used to. I might have a drink, like I'm a social drinker, but there's no one cares. No one cares if you have a glass of water. No one cares if you have a Coke. So I hope that people will understand that because it's at a bar, don't let that discourage you from attending. And there are lots of people there to support everyone through that experience. But we start around 7 o'clock and it goes to about 9, which is when Larry Nemechek's The Landing Party, sponsored by Trek Movie and Portal 47, starts. And that is, again, a bigger trivia event that I highly recommend going to. I will be over there after our party ends. But our party really goes as long as people want to stay at the bar and talk to people. And I will say for newbies, especially, that the iBar and the Masquerade Bar are really the places where people hang out. And
That's true.
like, again, I know that as we get closer to the convention, we will have an events thread, and that will include links to different fan created events, which do include, it depends on what people are doing. Sometimes there's a game night, and it's just like fans gathering together. So it might be in a room, it might be at a restaurant, it's wherever. But we're lucky enough that there are people out there trying to create events that aren't just at the bar, so that there is something for everyone. But yeah, we'll be hanging out there and having fun, and I will be saying hi to everyone. I'm going to tell this to myself 50 times so that I am sure to do it.
Sure to do it. And to your point about the bar too, like it's a very open space, so it's not like you have to like walk into a place that looks like a bar through one door or whatever. It's open out to the entire casino. So even if you're like outside the bar, it's still right now, like it's right there. It's all out in the open, so there's no worry about having to like walk into a space like that.
Yeah.
And like Randy, like you mentioned too, it's preview night for gold captains and copper shareholders.
Is that what it is?
So
okay, yeah,
the event running 7 to 9, it's very easy to pop in for a little bit and then head down to the preview, then come back. It's not something where you have to be committed to the full 2 hours either, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And people stay long after, trust me. Like once people find someone to chat with, they'll be at that bar for hours. That's not what that's just when the official part ends and we're going to stop handing out name tags.
The nice thing is that it kind of sets you up for the rest of the convention, where if you are looking for people to meet after hours, like there are generally always people at iBar or Masquerade.
Always. And Masquerade,
at all hours. I think sometimes it's
whenever it's open, at least.
Man, I've heard about people, leaving the hotel at 5 a.m. for their flight, and there's still people at the bar. So they will be there, guaranteed.
The fun thing with this group too, you can always tell the Trekkies because they're always in costume, so it's a very easy group to find and jump right into.
Always,
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Before we leave, Randy, I do want to give you just a moment to talk very quickly about Lambda Quadrant and what you folks do and what your presence at the convention is going to look like.
Oh yeah, we always have a booth at the convention, and I 3D print merch for us to sell. That's very fun. It's all original stuff. Ask Gates McFadden about our one last year. It was amazing. So we do that, and then we also usually do panels and talks and outreach and education and try and raise money for a charity and just be a positive influence in the space for everyone. Actors, the attendees, creation themselves, they're nice to us. So just try and be a positive force in the space and give some information and good vibes out.
Fantastic. Well, it's hard to believe we're so close to this convention. We're excited to see you guys there. Heather, if somebody wants to stay in touch with you and stay in contact on social media, how can they find you?
That is a hard question. I am in the Star Trek Conventions Experiences group, and that is probably the best point of contact for me since my social media world has shrunk quite a bit.
And that group is very active at this point and will continue to get so as we get closer to the convention for sure. Randy, if people want to stay in touch with you, how can they find you on social media?
Just at Lambda Quadrant everywhere. We got all the socials right, so find us there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you in just a few weeks in Vegas.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The third and final event that we're going to talk about on today's episode is the STLV Craft Swap. And joining us today is Yez, who is the moderator of the STLV Craft Swap Facebook group. Yez, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
So the craft swap is something we were talking a little bit before we began that I did in my very first convention. And it was something completely new to me because I'm not the craftiest person. But for those who are completely new to this, tell us exactly what is the STLV craft swap?
So STLV Craft Swap is basically anyone who joins the group, and it is a dedicated Facebook group just to keep things off of the Star Trek Convention Experiences group, just to kind of, it was basically an offshoot of that group because people have been trading crafts for years, but we decided to make it a little bit more organized, and that's how the group came about. But basically, it's anybody who joins who is interested in either making crafts or ordering custom items for the craft swap. They're primarily handmade items, but anyone can make however many items they'd like and then attend the craft swaps. And there's some flexibility in that, which we could get to later. But basically, you bring your items, however many you want to make. There's no minimums. And you just trade with other crafters for items that you find appealing for some reason. And it could be, you could trade all your items away or trade only for certain series or certain characters. So again, there's like no commitment, there's no minimums. So we try to make it very casual and stress-free, but it has been likened to Black Friday.
I love that. I think that's very, very appropriate. So as far as you mentioned bringing as much as you want, but how many people have you counted are participating typically?
So on a day-to-day basis, it could be between 30 and 40. I did count one year, and we had between 30 and 40 each day. Total, that is hard to say because by the end of the week, I give up on counting. So it could be, I've estimated approximately 60 to 70 people total per year. And again, that fluctuates based on who attends, because not most of us attend every year, but not everybody attends every year. So yeah.
That's awesome. So did you create the group or did you inherit this group? How did this kind of come to happen?
So like I said, people have been trading or just giving away craft items for years. This has just been something that I walked into in 2015, my first year, but it was very, very casual, very in passing, like somebody would have stuff in their bag. And then if they met somebody in line, they could pass it out that way. There used to be a table that people would just throw things on, whether business cards or stickers or craft items. So it was very informal. And one year, I want to say it was 2016, we tried to meet up, but there was no like consensus as to like a specific time. Everyone's just kind of coming and going. So the next year in 2017, Heather, who you know very well, one of the admins for the group, started the conversation again about, meeting up at a certain time. And I know that Heather has a lot on her plate. So I offered to, make a group. I just basically said, hey, do you want me to make a group and either do it for you or you can run it? No pressure. I just want to help. And she said, go for it. Go right ahead. So, so I think Heather actually was the the one who came up with the idea of meeting at 5 p.m. every day. Just, again, no commitment. If you can show up, show up. If not, no pressure. I think she came up with that idea in 2016. 2016. And then in 2017 or 2018, I decided to make the dedicated group. So we could just basically coordinate that way and also get to know each other a little bit in the months leading up to the convention. And then again, because it is very casual, sometimes people will exchange something and then forget who they got it from. So they can post like, hey, who made this? I love it. Can I get another? Or do you have a shop? Or, just, hey, thanks. I use this every day, that kind of thing. So it's again, another way of building community.
I think it's great. And you mentioned that some people do have shops. So this is not a buy sell group though, correct? This is all just people trading crafty items back and forth.
Correct. Yes, it's absolutely just for community building. So we do not allow any advertisements whatsoever, not in the group, not at the event itself. And so sometimes I can be very much a stickler about using the term craft swap and not swap meet, because a lot of people say swap meet, but swap meet implies their sales. So this is a swap, meaning an exchange. So nobody should be charging for it. Now, if they have a business, many makers have Etsy businesses. And if they would like to make a little card to include with their item, that's completely okay. It's one, a good way for them to advertise their business. And two, it's a good way for people to stay connected. Because again, we're trying to build community, right? But the item in and of itself cannot be an advertisement. I made the joke like, no one's going to want to trade their hand crocheted pair of socks for a Frisbee that just has your URL on it, So there has to be a little bit of thought, and it should be a crafty item. But yes, we reserve the right to remove any kind of advertisement in the group. And so far, we haven't had to struggle with that too much. It hasn't been a problem.
So I'm looking right now at a picture you posted to the group on March 12th of some, we're going to call them treasures that were found at the last swap, I'm assuming. But I see like a loofah sponge that has a com badge and it looks like a little character in it. I see Ferengi Latinum. I see what looks like Vulcan ear warmers. These are so cool. So what is like the most interesting or unique craft item that you've seen traded at the swap?
Wow, there has been so many amazing items. Some that really stood out to me though are like paper lanterns. They're like cut out from paper. So they have little Trek references cut into them, and then there's a battery operated tea light candle in it. I believe Renee Varon makes those, but she's done those a couple of years, and they're beautiful little basically lamps. They'd be perfect for night lights, but they're so beautiful to look at. And because they're made out of paper and they're basically a pyramid shape, you have to be very careful with them, but they're, oh my gosh, I think they're so lovely. There have been some crocheted items, and some people crochet things like washcloths or what are those called? Cup holders. Is that what they're called? Like coffee cozies?
Yeah.
Beer cozies as well. What else? Coasters. So a lot of crocheted items. One of my favorites have been the little sculpted and molded baby Gorns and baby Ferengi. One of our members, Marion Murdoch, she's a very talented artist. She sculpts and paints. And so what she did one year is she sculpted the baby Gorn, and then she made a plaster mold out of her sculpture. And then she used that to pour in, I don't know what the media is, but she basically used it as a mold to then like mass produce like 20 or 30 little baby Gorn, and then she hand painted them. They're adorable. I'm a pediatric nurse, so I love anything baby related. So she made the baby Gorns, and she even gave one to Bobby Clark, and so he had it at his table. And then the following year, sometime after that, she made baby Ferengi. So I'm hoping at some point she'll make some baby Borgs.
It
from
just
low.
shows how creative some of these fans are. I mean, we have such a talented group in this fandom, and they are crafty. But I'm also seeing some items that aren't necessarily handmade or crafty, keychains, wristbands. So if somebody like me who can't crochet anything wants to come to the group, it's okay to bring something like that.
Absolutely. And I think one year you brought some custom bracelets, no? Some of those
Yes.
like rubber bracelets. Yes. So those
Yeah, that was my first.
yeah, some people have made those. You brought those. Marina Craft Chuck has brought some to celebrate like Voyager's milestone anniversaries. One person brought one that referenced craft swap specifically. I can't remember what the saying was on it, but it was something related to like mastery or artisan, something like that, something that paid homage to the craftiness of the group and also had STLV Craft Swap on it. So it was very custom made, and those are welcome. For the most part, most people do handcraft items, but you are certainly welcome to order something like that. Or some people, and again, it's not most, but some people have said, you know, they've expressed an interest in participating, but they can't make anything. So they have collectibles that they would like to exchange. And some, you know, some are worth more than others. So it's kind of up to the person to decide, okay, I'll trade you this one collectible for 2 of your items, or, you know, something like that. So there's always some flexibility that way. Some people have also kind of straddled the line between mass production and artistry by painting or somehow creating an art piece and then having a professional company reprint it, whether in postcard form or magnets or stickers. Our friend Lean is a very talented artist, and she drew a picture of Hemmer from Strange New Worlds. And she kind of did a play on his name Hemmer, and she drew a picture of him wearing the like parachute pants and dancing, and it says Hemmer time. So
awesome.
she ordered those in so she, you know, hand painted this and then uploaded the image and had them printed on stickers and on buttons, and then traded, you know, one or the other for people. And then I think one of those ended up on the actor, I can't remember his full name, that sticker to him and said, hey, look, somebody made this for you know, about you, and then they left the sticker there with him, and he loved it. I think he took a picture with the sticker. So yeah, so there's different ways of going about it. And yeah, there's always the option of joining the group and posting your idea. For example, one year I just did not have it in me to craft anything. And so what I had done was I made just a very simple little STLV Craft Swap logo with some, you know, crafty type clip art around it, and I got those made into the you know, the like shopping bags. What are they called? They're like reusable.
Oh yeah, the tote bags. I'm looking at a picture of them right now. Yeah, nice red
like,
tote bag.
Yeah, convention tote bag. So that was my contribution that year. One year I did the bags in a different color, and I also made like Combat the Concrete kits, which I had actually done even before COVID, because as a nurse and I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, I, you know, had made these little kits to help people out, you know, in case, you know, they were not feeling well, or actually just to help prevent, just to kind of boost up their immune system, and also remind them to use tissues and cover their faces when they cough.
I love that.
So, yeah.
Perfect for like the current times we're into. You can't have enough hand sanitizer.
Exactly. Yeah, I included hand sanitizer, tissues, emergency and Metamucil packets, because, you know, people are on vacation, they're not drinking as much water as they should be, they're not eating as many vegetables as they, you know, normally would. So people always get stuffed up. So I included a couple packets of Metamucil just in case anyone needed a little.
That's great. So if somebody wants to participate, you mentioned the Facebook group. How can they sign up? How can they join? Do you have dates and times for the event set up for the 2023 convention?
Yes. So we normally meet Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of the convention at 5 p.m. and it's usually at Jimmy's place. Last year, because of the venue change, because we were at Bally's, Jimmy's Place turned out not to work out for us, because when we got there was a panel ongoing, and we make a lot of noise, unfortunately, when we're at Craft Swap. So we just pivoted and met in the kind of large hallway in front of it, and that worked out actually pretty well. But yes, it will be at Jimmy's Place now that we're back at the Rio. And yeah, just 5 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We eliminated Sunday a few years ago because it tended to be everybody that had already traded had already shown up. So Sunday was just kind of like the same people going like, well, I already traded with you. So that's why we decided to eliminate it. But you can either show up every day if you'd like, because some people can't go certain days, or you can only go, 1 day, 2 days, whatever works for you. Yeah, like, again, no commitment. It can be a little loud and chaotic, but we tried to minimize that the last year by having some people just basically park themselves, putting one of their items, like an example of their item or a small assortment of their different items, if they brought different kinds of items, on the table, and with a number in front of it, and then they put the number on their chest, and then that way we can draw some people away from the main big table and then have people mingle a little bit more. So again, it can be a little bit chaotic, but some people say that's part of the fun of it. I will say, I don't want to hear any more complaints about how it's Black Friday, because I recently went on the Star Trek cruise, and they do a craft swap there. Joanne Ortloff, who was a longtime STLV attendee, decided to take the craft swap idea and bring it to the cruise a couple of years ago. So I went this past year, and holy moly, that was insane. There had to have been 100 people there. It was
incredible.
It was so crowded. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So ours is much tamer compared to theirs. So we'll say that.
Well, and it's funny, I did Mission Chicago about a year ago, or last April, and it was not the same, not having the craft swap. It's a highlight of the convention each year. So I'm assuming people can also join the STLV Craft Swap Facebook group.
Yes, absolutely. It is STLV Craft Swap, and it is a closed group, but it is searchable on Facebook. It's also in the I keep calling it the unofficial group, but that's what it used to be called. The Star Trek Convention Experiences group. I often will either bump or remind people about Craft Swap in there, so they can look for it in there if they're already in that group, and there should be plenty of links to it in there.
Incredible. Now, this does sound like it's a lot of work for you, organizing everything, finding a table each day. Is there anything people can do to help you on site or in advance to prepare for this?
Yeah, we do have a small moderator team that's comprised of myself, Lucinda Laughlin, and Sally Seagraves. So between the three of us, we kind of do the organizing. But it would be very helpful if participants could arrive, not all participants, just a couple of people, 15 minutes beforehand, and kind of stake out a table in Jimmy's Place, because again, it is open seating. And sometimes, it could take a little bit of time to find a table that is completely empty. So if they could arrive early, find a table that maybe has a couple people that look like they're finishing up their lunch, they could go ahead and just stake out that table for us and spread themselves out.
Just stare them down until they leave. That's all it takes.
I mean, I'm not going to say to do it, but I'm also not going to say not to. But usually it's people are pretty understanding. We've had people be like, oh, you need a table? Oh no, I'll move over. And so they'll move over to the next table, and then they'll watch all the craziness ensue. And then they come over and ask, what's going on here? What's happening? So, Trekkies are for the most part very polite people who tend to help each other out when needed. And if possible, we would like to keep our excitement to a minimum, because usually there's another stage near to Jimmy's Place where there are panels that may be happening at that time. Usually they're 5 p.m. So yeah, we try not to do a whole lot of screaming, but some people get very excited.
Hey, we're having a good time. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. This is really exciting. It's hard to believe we're just a few weeks away. If people want to stay in touch with you on social media, how should they find you?
I could be found. My name is Yez on the Trek Convention Experiences group. I can also be found in the USS Rio STLV group. I also obviously am the admin for the Craft Swap group. And that's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We're looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks at STLV.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you for joining us for this month's episode of the Con Pod. For even more fan-organized events at STLV, make sure to check out the Star Trek Convention Experiences Facebook group. In that group, there's a thread called the 57-Year Mission/STLV 2023 Official Trektivities fan-organized events. There's a listing of all sorts of events that are happening, and they are going to be a lot of fun. As always, we're looking forward to seeing you at the convention in a few weeks. We'd also like to take this moment to thank our friends over at 5-Year Mission for the intro music that you heard at the start of this episode. You can listen to all their music, get their albums, and some awesome swag by visiting their website at 5yearmission.net. Thank you so much, and until next time, live long and prosper.